So the DHS officially partially shuts down because of the lack of funding, because of the Democrats. Um, and what this means is it's not a full government shutdown. It's not a shutdown where, all services will be, thrown out, but it does mean some things will be affected, and we'll talk about that. So first, what continues would be over 90% of DHS employees will still keep working, since most roles are necessary and deemed necessary for, protecting property, life, national security, and law enforcement. But a lot of people will work without pay. Um, and so this is the big thing. ICE and immigration enforcement and border enforcement. That is not going to get affected. That's not going to get affected that much at all. Um, because really thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that Trump passed in 2025, which is, by the way, amazing bill, incredibly beautiful. Um, so Democrats are trying to stop the funding from to the DHS for the main reason of ICE and Border Patrol reform enforcement. And yet, the politicians, forget about the Democrats who blindly follow the Democrat politicians' lies and all of that. We're talking about the Democrat politicians, the people in Congress, okay, the people in Congress and the Senate. They know that ICE will not be affected as much as really, like, for example, FEMA. FEMA is important, and then Democrats are throwing that away. The politicians are throwing that away in order to stop ICE, even though ICE will not be affected as much. So the thing is ICE, but ICE still will continue to have large operations. The big beautiful bill included $75 billion for ICE and $64 billion for CBP. Deportations and Border Patrol will enforce priorities roll on with. So, deportations, Border Patrol, and enforcement priorities will keep going without any interruption, really. So, out of all these things, ICE and Border Patrol will not be affected at all. All of the other things like TSA, FEMA, Coast Guard, all of these things will have more effect, will get affected more by this decision by the Democrats instead of ICE and CBP, which is ridiculous. It's insane. Okay? And that really shows, are they doing this for ICE? Are they doing it for immigrants as they say, which they're really not? Um or are they just saying this just to get a kick out of it and try to, shove it in Trump's face? We're stopping DHS. Really, you're stopping Department of Homeland Security? Do you hear yourself? Department of Homeland Security. Really? You want to stop Homeland Security for ICE and Border Patrol, which is the thing that really doesn't get affected at all from this lack of funding. What what insanity is that? Okay, and TSA, about 95% of TSA workers will stay, but longer lines will develop, probably will develop, and a lot of people won't be paid for work. Um, Passengers and cargo processing continues. Coast Guard, national security missions will continue, though some might be funded separately. Secret Service will continue. FEMA will keep happening, but there's a little bit nuance to that, which we'll get into. And basically, other central law enforcement, cybersecurity, and infrastructure protection, all of those will be continued. But what is going to get stopped or affected would be, for example, TSA, what like we said before, longer wait times, longer lines. Unpaid workers will start going on strikes and stuff. FEMA, uh, they will so new grant processing, hazard mitigation approvals, training classes, and non-emergency preparedness activities will stop, and disaster coordination could slow if prolonged. Coast Guard non-critical missions will not continue for Coast Guard, um, which is obviously not the best because non-critical missions are still important because the smaller things add up. Um, so that's one thing the Democrats are stopping. Immigration services. So Democrats say they love immigrants. They love immigrants, especially illegal immigrants. But let's say legal immigrants. Immigration services, they will get paused or they'll significantly delay more. Okay, so verifying and visas and all of those things, they will get halted or they'll significantly slow down. So they're slowing the process for immigration, which is obviously it's against of what Democrats are claiming they care about, which is immigration. And yet they're stopping the immigration. Like, what kind of nonsense is that? Other divisions such as forensics training, some parts of Secret Service, like mail screening and flood insurance policy renewals, and other things like that, will get delayed or unpaid. And some essential services could be delayed on top of those other things. Um, Obviously, that's not a good thing. Especially like it still wouldn't make sense if ICE would have been affected by this, which they're not getting affected. Border Patrol and ICE aren't getting affected by this. But even if they were, it it doesn't it doesn't make sense at all. It does not make sense. If even though ICE is getting funded still in spite of the partial DHS shutdown, Democrats are still adamant on closing the DHS. Why? Why? Especially when it stops the important things that they claim to care about, like immigration. It stops legal immigration. What is wrong with them? They've gone insane, obviously, but what kind? They're going against their own values that they claim to care about. How is that defensible by any means? There's no way any Democrat can logically and truthfully defend what the politicians are doing. There's no way. The only Democrat in the legislature in the Senate, let's say, that has any common sense is John Fetterman. He won't vote for it because he knows he's not falling for this insanity that his party is doing. John Fetterman's not doing that. That's why I have respect for John Fetterman. I disagree with some stuff, a lot of stuff that he says, but he's really a voice of reason in the Democrat Party. More Democrats should be like him. All right? And it's hypocrisy. It's multiple things stacked on top. It's hypocrisy. It's insanity. It's lying. It's lack of awareness of what they even say their actions are and what their policies are. Like nothing they say is consistent. Nothing they do is consistent or is matching up with each other. Nothing. It's just a ridiculous, chaotic, uh, un un-American disaster. That's what the Democrat Party is. They're all incredibly ignorant and incoherent to the point where what they say has zero value. You rather run your own off. You rather go build a company in that's worth like $100 billion in the time frame that Democrats will stand in the in the Senate floor to filibuster something that's not even important and in to the point of, you know, being against rights or anything. It's amazing. It's incredible, really. It's incredible how idiotic it is. I mean, I'm speechless because it's like, you know, I'm trying to think of I'm trying to put myself in a Democrat's shoes, which would be very small, by the way. Um, I'm trying to figure out a way to actually defend Democrats. There's not a way you can defend what they're trying to do. The zero. If I was a Democrat, I'd be like, what are you doing? Your point is to stop ICE, and you're for the reason of supposedly immigration right violation, which is not happening, but supposedly it's to care about immigrants, and let's say legal immigrants, okay, lawful immigrants, and yet they're doing this in spite of ICE and Border Patrol not being affected at all. But the process of applying for immigration status will be delayed and halted. That's insanity. They don't care about immigrants. They just care about their votes and their stupid political agendas. Forget your stupid political agendas. Who cares? You're going against your own values of immigration. You're insane. What is wrong with you? I mean, that what I mean, I and really I know at least 70 to 80% of Democrats agree with me, because a lot of them have voted actually for Joe Biden and Kamala, Joe Biden and Obama and Hillary. They voted for these people, these Democrats, and they're probably slowly but surely going towards the Republican side, not because they are going to the right, because their side is going more to the left, and the line and the middle ground of what is Republican and left leaning goes towards the Republican side, because we're the only voice of reason. It's not even it's not even a logical. There's nothing logical about siding with the Democrats on this one. I know 70 to 80% of Democrats agree with me, because they're not so far gone to the point where they're they're blindly following these Democrat politicians who are lying to them and blatantly saying lies. And to those Democrats who are, you know, agreeing with me and agreeing with, you know, people who are saying the same things I am, I'm I give them great credit, because they're not um, going to stand by and be like, okay, now you're making Democrats look like I'm a Democrat, but you're making me look bad, even though I'm on your side. You're making me look bad, and that's, you know, and Democrat politicians, I know for a fact, they are so out of reach with their constituents. They're so out of reach with their constituents. Their constituents and them have zero connection, right? Like, for example, for the Save Act, for example, 80% of 70% of Democrats, 70 80% of Democrats agree with the Save Act, and yet all of the Democrats except John Fetterman, hopefully, has voted no on the Save Act. What is it? What? How does that represent their constituents? They care about democracy? That's not democracy. They're literally going against the people who voted for them. Even though we're a republic, we're a constitutional republic, they claim to care about democracy. What democracy is that they should vote as if they're, well, actually, no. What constitutional republic is that they should vote as, you know, the constituents who voted for them would vote as. But if you really want to be a democracy where everyone should vote, you should act like it. Act like it. Right? Which, if Democrats would vote on the Save Act as if it was a democracy, it would pass. If only the Democrats voted for it, it would pass. If only the Republicans voted for it, it would definitely pass. If both voted for it, it would pass. So it's obviously bipartisan, but the Democrat politicians don't want to do that. They don't want to be inclusive. They don't want to. They don't want to represent their constituents who voted for them. Which so at that point, why are they even getting paid? At that point, like we should stop paying the Democrats because they're stopping FEMA. They're stopping the process for immigration, and they're not. And yet they're still getting paid, claiming they care about immigration. That's insanity. That's hypocrisy, and they're utterly idiotic and stupid.